What's up, guys? I am Mike Muhammad, and today I want to talk about that final trailer for Tenet. I gotta say, and also my prediction for the end of the movie. I gotta say, I'm not the biggest fan of Travis Scott, but I actually really do like that song that he made for the Tenet trailer. The Plan. Really kind of a different vibe from most Travis Scott songs, I think, and it's made to more go with the movie and the action and the themes. Like he's talking about inverse and all this stuff. Like definitely lyrics that related to the film Tenet. You can tell Travis Scott probably did get to see the film before he made this song, and it definitely shows in the music. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit about after watching that trailer. This is my personal reaction. Today is Saturday, August 22nd, 2020, and I want to put out my prediction for how the movie Tenet is going to end. After watching that final trailer, this is my thoughts. I think this movie is going to involve a lot of like using these inverted weapons and vehicles, like these objects that are inverted, and then eventually the people being inverted, like they're going to either enter a chamber or something and somehow they end up on in the past, or either they end up in the past or they end up in the future coming out of like that airlock chamber where they're wearing the mask. And if they're wearing the mask, basically what it means is that they're inverted. So the oxygen they need to breathe has to also be inverted. So pretty much when somebody gets inverted, they're going to go back to the past or possibly to the future. And what everything they do is like backwards. Like when they before they step in a puddle, the splash appears or whatever. They kind of showed that aspect of it in the new trailer. Of how when John David Washington, the protagonist, is wearing the mask, everything that he does is kind of in reverse. So that there's the concept of not just objects being inverted, there's the concept of people being inverted. And basically, I think at the end of the trailer, they kind of showed this really crazy warscape of all these soldiers all wearing the mask. And like the destruction is like unlike anything ever seen. Like the building that was destroyed comes back together and then breaks apart again. It's like, what? So, yeah, I think basically what it's going to come down to is how they mention our mission is to prevent World War III in the earlier trailers. I think that what it's going to be is that this concept of World War III is going to take place in the future, and it's going to involve a lot of inverted soldiers using these inverted weapons and vehicles and all kinds of shit like that, like shit that honestly you can't really imagine. And we're only going to see it. We're going to see this film Tenet is going to involve showing us things that have never ever been done before in cinema. There's like John David Washington in an interview was talking about how some of the fight scenes are like we're getting into the territory of like something never before done in cinema, where someone's learning how to fight in what their body moving in reverse, like reversed choreography. So I think the whole aspect of inverted weapons and vehicles and soldiers is going to be the basis of what World War III is within this movie. So the whole mission really is to prevent that war from ever happening, because it'll end up being like more devastating than World War One and Two. It'll be like the worst war in the history of humanity, like an endless fucking war of inverted weapons and inverted soldiers sending bullets flying backwards and all this unimaginable shit. So basically, the protagonist and the people working with him, John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, all these people around him, pretty much what it's going to be is like these people are all going to be helping John David Washington to get to eventually a point where something that he does ends up kind of closing the loop of possibilities where this World War III could happen. And this is just me basing it off of just knowing the way Christopher Nolan's mind works, the way he likes to work with loops in his films, the way he likes to have things kind of like come together neatly at the end, like looping back into themselves. He did that with Interstellar, The Prestige, Inception. Christopher Nolan always gets off on this concept of closing a loop. And I think the whole thing with Tenet is it's going to be about closing a loop. And what I think the end of this movie is going to be is that John David Washington, as the protagonist, does succeed in essentially preventing that World War III from happening, but the consequence of it, in order to succeed in that mission, in order to save all those lives from the potential World War III scenario within, like, I want to more call it like inverse War 3 or something, like time inversion war or whatever. So prevent that shit from happening, somehow or another, the ending is going to be that for him to completely close the possibility of that timeline ever happening, he has to get sent back to the very beginning where he began, before he was even recruited by Tenet, the organization. Like, there's a scene where basically choosing to kill himself by taking a suicide pill, because he's choosing to end his own life rather than divulge his secrets. So this kind of test is why he's a suitable candidate for this kind of mission, because it's like he's going to be trapped in an infinite loop. The whole film Tenet is an infinite loop. You could just watch it from the beginning and just let it run forever, and it's basically the forever life of John David Washington, the protagonist, caught in this loop of going back and forth through the future, being inverted, using inverted weapons, and doing all this crazy shit to eventually prevent the time inversion war from happening that was shown at the end of the final trailer. And the only way, somehow or another, the only way he's going to be able to prevent that war from happening and stop all those people from dying, is that he's going to have to close the loop and go back to where he originally came from. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the concept of Tenet. You end right back where you began. That's my kind of prediction for the film. And yeah, well, I'm now excited to just kind of leave this out there. And I'm going to be seeing the film on Wednesday, August 26th. So that's a couple days from now, like 5 days from now. I'm going to finally see this film. I live in Canada, so the theaters are open here. And I'm excited to see how much of that ends up being right, if any of it ends up being right. If all of it ends up being right, that would be awesome and hilarious. But yeah, only time will tell. Time runs out, guys. Anyways, I am Mike Muhammad. I hope you enjoyed my prediction for the end of the film Tenet. And if you're watching this, to all you people in the future out there, hopefully the time inversion war didn't happen. And I hope you enjoyed this video to see that some people actually did manage to predict everything about this movie. So to all the movie critics out there who say this movie's incomprehensible, people have been able to come up with all kinds of theories about what happens, and we'll see if my personal theory ends up having any kind of water to it at the end of it. Anyways, I'm Mike Muhammad. Thanks for watching. You guys take care up there.